The bonding. Commander Elara Shaw crouched behind the twisted remains of a shuttle, her pulse rifle clutched tightly against her chest. The alien moon's purple-tinted atmosphere cast an eerie glow across the crash site. 3 days had passed since her reconnaissance mission went sideways, leaving her stranded in this godforsaken corner of the Viridian system. Command, this is Shaw, still awaiting extraction. Local fauna growing more aggressive. Please advise. Static answered her transmission. The same response she'd received for the past 72 hours. Elara sighed and checked her dwindling supplies. 2 ration packs, half a canteen of water, and a medkit with basic supplies. Not ideal for an extended stay. A low rumble disturbed the silence, sending vibrations through the ground beneath her boots. Elara stiffened, her combat training kicking in as she scanned the perimeter. The dense violet foliage surrounding the crash site rustled with movement. Something was circling her position. "Show yourself," she muttered, switching her rifle's safety off. As if answering her challenge, the bushes parted, and a massive creature emerged into the clearing. Elara's breath caught in her throat. Standing nearly 8 feet tall on powerful hind legs, the beast resembled a cross between an earth panther and something decidedly alien. Its midnight blue hide glistened with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed rhythmically, while 6 amber eyes tracked her every movement with unsettling intelligence. Elara recognized it immediately from her briefing files. A nexus, one of the most lethal predators in the known galaxy. The file photos hadn't done it justice. In person, the creature exuded raw power and a strange, almost hypnotic beauty. "Easy now," she whispered, knowing her rifle would barely slow the beast if it decided to attack. Nexus creatures were notorious for their armor-like hides and regenerative abilities. The Nexus tilted its head, nostrils flaring as it caught her scent. But instead of charging, it remained at the edge of the clearing, studying her with what Elara could only describe as curiosity. That's when she noticed the wound, a deep gash across its flank, still oozing the silvery fluid that must serve as blood. Something had attacked this apex predator and left its mark. Against every survival instinct, Elara lowered her weapon slightly. "You're hurt," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. To her astonishment, the creature's luminescent patterns shifted, pulsing more rapidly as it took a cautious step forward. Military protocol was clear about encounters with Class A predatory species. Maintain distance, avoid engagement, eliminate if threatened. But something about this creature's behavior didn't match the aggressive profile in her briefing. The Nexus suddenly jerked its massive head toward the forest behind it, its body tensing. Elara followed its gaze but saw nothing. Then she heard it, the distinctive whir of antimatter engines. Her extraction team had finally arrived, but the Nexus clearly perceived them as a threat. "They're friendlies," she found herself explaining, though she knew the creature couldn't possibly understand. The Nexus' attention returned to her, and it took another step forward, now close enough that Elara could feel its warm breath. It lowered its head, bringing those unsettling amber eyes level with hers. Something passed between them, a moment of connection that defied explanation. Then chaos erupted. The extraction shuttle burst over the tree line, weapon systems engaging the moment sensors detected the Nexus. "Commander Shaw, take cover." A voice boomed over the external comms. "Stand down," Elara shouted, but her order was lost in the barrage of suppression fire that rained down around the creature. The Nexus roared, a sound that seemed to shake the very air. Its bioluminescent patterns flared brilliant white as it prepared to attack. But instead of charging the shuttle, it lunged toward Elara. She braced for impact, but the killing blow never came. The Nexus positioned itself between her and the shuttle, its massive body forming a living shield. It wasn't attacking her, it was protecting her. "Cease fire! Cease fire!" Elara screamed into her comm unit. Miraculously, the barrage stopped. The shuttle hovered, its weapons still trained on the Nexus as a squad of armored Marines deployed from the rear hatch, forming a perimeter around the scene. "Commander, move away from the hostile," ordered Captain Rice, the squad leader, his voice tense as he raised his heavy pulse cannon. "The creature is not hostile," Ilara replied, stepping forward with one hand raised toward her troops while the other, surprisingly, found itself resting on the Nexus's flank. The creature rumbled softly at her touch, but made no aggressive moves. "With all due respect, Commander, that's a Class A Nexus Predator. We have standing orders to eliminate on sight," Rice insisted. "And I'm giving you a direct countermand, Captain." Ilara's voice carried the full weight of her authority. "This creature had multiple opportunities to kill me over the past hour, and chose not to. Instead, it tried to protect me from what it perceived as an attack." Skepticism was evident on every Marine's face, but they lowered their weapons fractionally. The Nexus remained tense beside her, its injured flank pressing against her leg as though seeking support. "We need to get you back to base, Commander," Rice said, eyeing the creature with undisguised suspicion. "General Takeda is waiting for your report on the Zareen insurgent activity." "The insurgents are gone," Ilara replied. "But I found something potentially more valuable." She glanced down at the Nexus, which had begun to clean its wound with methodical swipes of a rough tongue. "I'm bringing it back with us." "That's against every protocol in the book, Commander." "Then rewrite the book, Captain." Ilara's tone made it clear the discussion was over. "Prepare a containment bay in the shuttle, and get me the medkit with xenobiology supplies." To everyone's amazement, including Ilara's, the Nexus allowed itself to be guided toward the shuttle, following her lead with surprising docility. The Marines maintained a wary distance, weapons at the ready, but no further confrontation occurred. As they prepared for departure, Ilara administered basic first aid to the creature's wound. The Nexus watched her work with those intelligent amber eyes, occasionally emitting a low purr that vibrated through her fingertips. "You're going to cause quite a stir at Outpost Vega," she told it softly. The creature's ear flicked in response, as though acknowledging her words. "Commander," one of the Marines called from the shuttle's entrance, "General Takeda is on the comm. He's not pleased about your passenger." Ilara sighed. "Tell him I'll explain everything when we arrive." She turned back to the Nexus, who was now resting its massive head against her shoulder in what seemed like an astonishing display of trust. "But I think we've just made a breakthrough in interspecies relations." The flight back to Outpost Vega took 3 hours, during which the Nexus remained surprisingly calm, resting near Ilara's station and growling softly whenever any Marine approached too closely. The creature's wound had already begun to heal, the edges knitting together at a rate that verified the species' remarkable regenerative capabilities. Outpost Vega, humanity's furthest military installation in the Viridian system, appeared on the view screen as they approached, a sprawling complex of interconnected domes and landing pads carved into the side of an extinct volcano. As the shuttle docked, Ilara could see a welcoming committee assembled on the platform, led by the imposing figure of General Takeda. "This should be interesting," she muttered to the Nexus, who rumbled in response as though understanding her apprehension. The moment the shuttle doors opened, Ilara was met with the General's thunderous expression. "Commander Shaw, would you care to explain why you've brought a live Nexus Predator onto my base?" Takeda's voice was deceptively calm. "Sir, I believe we've been misunderstanding these creatures," Ilara replied, standing at attention. "This one protected me from what it perceived as a threat. It's shown no aggression toward me whatsoever." Takeda's eyes narrowed as he observed the Nexus, which had remained surprisingly close to Ilara's side. "You realize these are the same creatures that slaughtered an entire Centaurian settlement last year?" "With respect, sir, we only have the Centaurians' account of that incident," Ilara countered. "And given their territory claims in the Nexus's native habitat, I question whether they were as innocent as they claimed. Commander, this isn't a debate. That creature is going to the xenobiology lab for study, and then we'll determine whether it has military application." The Nexus growled at Takeda's tone, its luminescent patterns flashing in warning. Ilara instinctively placed a hand on its flank, and to everyone's surprise, it calmed immediately. "Did you see that?" asked Dr. Kellen, the base's chief cynobiologist, stepping forward with undisguised fascination. It responded to her touch. "That's unprecedented for a nexus." "Fascinating," Takeda said dryly. "It can be domesticated. All the more reason to study its potential as a weapon." The nexus snarled, and this time, Ilara could almost feel its anger resonating through her palm. More surprisingly, she found herself sharing that anger. "Sir, I don't believe weaponization is the right approach," she argued. "This creature has shown intelligence and discernment. It's not some mindless killing machine." "Your objection is noted, Commander," Takeda replied coolly. "Security team, escort the Nexus to containment." 4 armored guards approached, neural nets at the ready. The Nexus's muscles bunched beneath Ilara's hand, preparing to spring. "Wait," Dr. Kellen interjected. "Look at its bioluminescence." All eyes turned to the Nexus. The patterns across its hide had formed intricate swirls, centered around the point where Ilara's hand rested. As they watched, the patterns extended up her arm in ghostly projections, creating a matched set between human and beast. "I've never seen anything like this," Kellen breathed. "Commander, how do you feel?" Ilara paused, suddenly aware of a strange sensation, a presence at the edges of her consciousness, alien yet somehow familiar. "I feel connected to it, almost like I can sense its emotions." "Impossible," Takeda scoffed. "Actually," Kellen said, "there have been unconfirmed reports from the frontier. Rumors that Nexus creatures sometimes form bonds with human handlers. Never with any other species, only humans." "Are you suggesting some kind of psychic link?" Takeda asked incredulously. "More like a neurochemical resonance," Kellen replied. "Human brainwave patterns might be compatible with their communication methods." The Centaurians reported that these creatures hunt in coordinated packs without any vocal communication. Ilara felt the Nexus press against her side, its massive head coming to rest against her shoulder. The connection in her mind strengthened, bringing with it impressions rather than words. Trust, protection, alliance. "I think it's chosen me," she said quietly. "Or you've been compromised," Takeda countered, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. A lieutenant rushed onto the platform, datapad in hand. "Sir, urgent transmission from Galactic Command. The Coalition forces are demanding we turn over any Nexus specimens. They're citing the Dangerous Species Containment Treaty." Ilara scrolled through the data, her breath catching as she saw the matching patterns between her own brain activity and Midnight's neural structure. "We're synchronizing," she murmured. "More than that," Kellen replied. "Your brainwave patterns are actually enhancing each other. The Nexus, Midnight, is showing cognitive functions well beyond what we've observed in isolated specimens. And your own neural activity shows unprecedented integration between your limbic system and higher cortical functions." Meaning you're both becoming more than what you were separately." Kellen's expression was grave. "Commander, the Coalition representatives have been pushing for immediate confiscation. They're calling these creatures planet killers in private sessions with General Takeda." Midnight growled softly, the bioluminescent patterns on his hide pulsing rapidly. Through their bond, Ilara sensed not aggression but fear, a deep primal fear tied to memories that weren't quite accessible to her. "He knows something about that term," she said. "Something that frightens him." Kellen nodded. "The Coalition is hiding something. Their official stance is that the Nexus species is simply too dangerous to be allowed near civilized worlds. But my team intercepted some internal communications. They're specifically concerned about human Nexus pairs." "Because we're compatible," Ilara concluded. "Uniquely so. We haven't found any evidence that Nexus creatures can bond with any other species." Kellen hesitated. "Commander, there's more. General Takeda has ordered Midnight's transfer to the high-security lab tomorrow morning. Once there, they plan to begin invasive testing. The surge of protective rage that flooded through Ilara wasn't entirely her own. Midnight's amber eyes fixed on her face, his massive claws flexing against the metal flooring. "That's not going to happen," she said quietly. Kellen didn't look surprised. "I suspected you might feel that way. That's why I came to warn you." He glanced at the chronometer on the wall. "The night shift begins in 2 hours. Security will be minimal in the western launch bay. The atmospheric shuttle has enough range to reach the outpost on Helios Prime." Ilara raised an eyebrow. "Doctor, are you suggesting I steal military property and desert my post?" "I'm suggesting you protect your research subject from unethical experimentation," Kellen corrected with a faint smile, "and perhaps discover the truth about a species that seems uniquely drawn to humanity." He reached into his pocket and withdrew a data crystal. "This contains everything we've learned about the Nexus species, including rumors of other human Nexus pairs in the frontier regions." Ilara accepted the crystal, understanding the risk Kellen was taking. "Thank you, Doctor. What will you tell Takeda?" "That you overpowered me, naturally." His smile widened. "After all, you have a dangerous predator at your command." After Kellen left, Ilara sat in contemplative silence, absently stroking Midnight's sleek hide. The Nexus pressed his massive head against her side, projecting a mixture of concern and readiness through their bond. "We're going to be fugitives," she told him softly. "Are you ready for that?" The answer came not in words, but in a surge of determined loyalty that left her breathless. 2 hours later, Ilara Shaw, decorated commander of the Terran Expeditionary Force, was officially labeled a deserter. The atmospheric shuttle disappeared into the night sky of Viridian IV, carrying with it humanity's first recognized Nexus partner and the beginning of a revolution that would reshape galactic politics forever. The journey to Helios Prime took 16 hours, during which Ilara studied Kellen's data crystal while Midnight prowled the small confines of the shuttle. The information was fragmentary but compelling. Reports from frontier planets of humans encountering Nexus creatures, forming bonds, and then disappearing from official records. Some were labeled as presumed deceased, others as position unknown. But the pattern was clear. Whatever was happening between humans and the Nexus species had been ongoing for years, quietly and away from the oversight of both Terran Command and the Coalition. Most intriguing were the coordinates embedded within the data, a location in the Helios system not marked on any official charts. Kellen had added a simple note: "Rumors suggest a sanctuary." As they approached Helios Prime, Ilara diverted the shuttle away from the main outpost, following the mysterious coordinates to a region of dense asteroid fields and swirling nebula gases. It was perfect hiding terrain, sensor confusing, and navigationally treacherous. "Someone doesn't want visitors," she muttered as she guided the shuttle through the hazardous field. Midnight rumbled in agreement, his amber eyes fixed on the view screen. Through their bond, Ilara sensed a growing excitement, an anticipation that suggested the Nexus recognized something familiar. After nearly an hour of careful navigation, the nebula gases parted to reveal a hidden structure, an asteroid that had been hollowed out and reinforced, transforming it into a concealed base. No identifying markers or beacons announced its presence, but as they approached, a communication channel suddenly opened. "Unidentified shuttle, you are in restricted space. State your business or be fired upon." Ilara hesitated, then replied, "This is Commander Ilara Shaw of the Terran Expeditionary Force. I'm seeking sanctuary for myself and a companion." A long pause followed. Then, "Describe your companion, Commander." "A Nexus. His name is Midnight." Another pause, longer this time. Then the communication channel crackled again, but with a different voice, younger, female, and decidedly more enthusiastic. "You bonded with a Nexus. That's incredible. We haven't had a new pair in months. Sending docking instructions now. Welcome to Haven, Commander." A set of landing coordinates appeared on her screen, guiding the shuttle toward a concealed hangar bay embedded in the asteroid's surface. As the shuttle settled onto the landing pad, Ilara saw figures emerging to meet them. Humans, all of them, but each accompanied by a Nexus creature. Some were smaller than Midnight, others even larger, their bioluminescent patterns creating a dazzling display of colors throughout the hangar. "It's a sanctuary," Ilara breathed. "Not just rumors after all." Midnight paced excitedly, the patterns on his hide pulsing rapidly as he sensed the presence of his own kind. The bond between them thrummed with his eagerness to explore this new environment. As the shuttle's ramp descended, a woman stepped forward from the welcoming committee. She appeared to be in her 40s, with short gray-streaked hair and the bearing of someone accustomed to command. At her side padded a massive Nexus with striking silver-blue patterns across its midnight hide. "Commander Shaw," the woman greeted her. "I'm Director Kerrigan, former captain of the TEF vessel Intrepid, now administrator of Haven. This is Artemis," she added, gesturing to the Nexus beside her. "How long has this place existed?" Ilara asked, stepping down the ramp with Midnight following close behind. "Nearly 5 years," Kerrigan replied. "Ever since the first documented human-Nexus bonding. We've been gathering pairs from across the frontier, offering protection and a chance to understand what's happening between our species." "And what is happening?" Ilara asked. Kerrigan's expression softened. "Something beautiful and terrifying. Something the Coalition is desperate to prevent." She gestured toward a doorway leading deeper into the asteroid base. "Come, there's much to show you." Haven was more extensive than Ilara had imagined. A fully functioning community carved into the asteroid's interior. Living quarters, research facilities, training areas, and even an artificial landscape designed to mimic the natural habitat of the Nexus species. Currently, 27 human Nexus pairs called the Sanctuary home, with more expected as word spread through carefully maintained underground channels. In the central chamber, a holographic display showed the known galaxy, with certain systems highlighted in red. "These are the worlds where Nexus creatures have been found," Kerrigan explained. "Notice anything strange about the pattern?" Ilara studied the display. "They're all border worlds between human and Coalition space. Contested territories." "Exactly." Kerrigan manipulated the display, and a new layer of information appeared, ancient star charts predating human expansion into the galaxy. But according to archaeological records, the Nexus species originated here. She pointed to a region deep within Coalition space. They were transported to the border worlds deliberately. "By whom?" Ilara asked, though a suspicion was already forming in her mind. "By the Coalition themselves," Kerrigan confirmed. "Or more specifically, by the Arcadian Dominion, the founding species of the Coalition. The Nexus were bioengineered weapons created for a war fought millennia ago." Midnight growled softly, and through their bond, Ilara sensed old memories, genetic memories passed down through generations of his kind. Images of laboratories, of pain, of Arcadian scientists manipulating the very essence of what would become the Nexus species. "They created them as weapons," Ilara said slowly, "but something went wrong. The Nexus evolved beyond their control." Kerrigan nodded. "They developed intelligence, self-awareness, and eventually, a complete resistance to Arcadian control methods. The project was abandoned, the creatures deemed too dangerous and unpredictable to utilize. So they quarantined them on remote worlds," Ilara concluded. "And then we humans came along," Kerrigan said with a grim smile. "The newest spacefaring species, pushing into those same contested territories. And to everyone's surprise, the Nexus creatures didn't attack humans the way they attacked other species. Instead, they formed bonds, partnerships that enhanced both species. And the Coalition is terrified of what that means," Ilara realized. "A human military with Nexus partners would be nearly unstoppable." "It goes deeper than military concerns," said a new voice. Ilara turned to see a man entering the chamber, dressed in the simple attire worn by Haven's residents, but carrying himself with the unmistakable bearing of a scientist. A smaller Nexus with unusual green-gold markings accompanied him. Dr. Marcus Chen, he introduced himself. Former xenobiologist for the TEF, now lead researcher here at Haven. This is Echo, he added, gesturing to his companion. What we've discovered about the human nexus bond suggests something beyond mere military advantage. The nexus were designed to be perfect adapters. Their genetic structure can modify itself in response to environmental pressures or deliberate manipulation. We believe the reason they bond with humans is because we're adaptable too, Kerrigan continued. Not on a genetic level like they are, but culturally, technologically. We change, we grow, we evolve our societies faster than any other known species. The perfect match, Ilara murmured, looking down at Midnight, who had settled beside her chair, his amber eyes watching the proceedings with clear understanding. More than that, Dr. Chen said. We've documented cases where the bond has resulted in physical changes, enhanced strength, accelerated healing, even limited telepathic abilities in the human partners. The nexus gain increased cognitive function, greater emotional regulation, and more precise control over their natural abilities. We become more like them, and they become more like us, Ilara said, suddenly understanding the true source of the Coalition's fear. We're becoming something new, something neither fully human nor nexus. Exactly, Kerrigan confirmed. And the Coalition believes that whatever emerges from these partnerships will eventually replace both original species. They've labeled it an existential contamination event in their classified reports. Before Ilara could respond, alarms suddenly blared throughout the sanctuary. A technician rushed into the chamber, face pale. Director, 3 Coalition warships just entered the nebula. They're sweeping with high-intensity sensors. They'll find us within minutes. Kerrigan's face hardened. How did they track us? We've been completely off the grid. Ilara's hand went instinctively to her uniform. They must have placed a tracker on me before I left Outpost Vega. I didn't even think to check. She met Kerrigan's eyes, guilt washing over her. I led them straight to you. No time for blame, Kerrigan said firmly. Initiate evacuation protocol Theta. All pairs to emergency vessels. The next few minutes were ordered chaos as the residents of Haven moved with practiced efficiency. Clearly, they had prepared for this possibility. Ilara followed Kerrigan through the corridors, Midnight keeping pace at her side. We have a contingency base, Kerrigan explained as they ran. Deeper in unclaimed space, we always knew we might be discovered eventually. They reached a large hangar bay where several unmarked ships were being rapidly prepped for departure. Families with children were being loaded first, followed by research personnel carrying vital data. Commander Shaw, Dr. Chen called, waving her toward a sleek vessel near the exit. You and Midnight will come with my team. We need to preserve the data on your bond. It's the most recent formation we've documented. A violent explosion rocked the asteroid, sending tremors through the sanctuary's structure. Through the hangar shield, Ilara could see Coalition vessels approaching, their weapon systems glowing as they prepared another volley. They're not even hailing us, Kerrigan said grimly. This isn't an arrest mission. It's extermination. Midnight snarled, the bioluminescent patterns on his hide flaring with battle readiness. Around the hangar, other Nexus creatures responded similarly, their massive forms tensing as they positioned themselves protectively near their human partners. We can't outrun those ships. Ilara realized, military training kicking in as she assessed their tactical situation. Even if we launch now, they'll pick us off one by one. Through her bond with Midnight, a strategy began to form, not fully her own, not fully his, but something created between them. Around the hangar, she noticed other human Nexus pairs exchanging similar looks of understanding. We need to fight, Ilara said, turning to Kerrigan. Not as individuals, but as pairs. Kerrigan's eyes widened, then narrowed with determination. The defense system, it's not designed for this, but with Nexus assistance, we might be able to amplify it, Dr. Chen finished, already moving toward a control panel. The targeting systems could be enhanced through the bond. What followed was unlike anything in Ilara's military experience. Human Nexus pairs positioned themselves at weapon controls throughout the sanctuary, their minds merging in ways that allowed the Nexus creatures' superior reflexes and spatial awareness to guide the humans' tactical training. Ilara and Midnight took position at the main defense grid, her hands on the controls while his massive head pressed against her side. Through their bond flowed a perfect synergy, his ability to track multiple targets simultaneously enhancing her combat training. All pairs in position, Kerrigan's voice announced over the comm. On my mark, engage. The sanctuary's defense systems came alive with unprecedented precision. Laser arrays and missile platforms fired in perfect coordination, striking the coalition vessels at their most vulnerable points. What should have been an easy extermination mission for the warships suddenly became a desperate fight for survival. Through the view screen, Ilara watched as one coalition vessel took heavy damage, its engines failing as it drifted into the nebula gases. The remaining two ships continued their assault, but their attacks were increasingly desperate and uncoordinated. They didn't expect to fight, Ilara realized. They thought we were just scientists and refugees. Midnight rumbled in agreement, his amber eyes fixed on the battle unfolding before them. Through their bond, Ilara sensed not bloodlust but resolution, a determination to protect what they had found together. The second coalition vessel veered off after taking critical damage to its navigation systems, leaving only one stubbornly continuing the attack. Its commander's voice suddenly came through on an open channel. This is Captain Vrel of the Coalition Security Force. You harbor biological weapons in violation of the Galactic Charter. Surrender now and prepare for quarantine procedures. Kerrigan stepped forward, her Nexus partner Artemis at her side. This is Director Kerrigan of Haven. We harbor no weapons, only sentient beings who have chosen partnership with humans. Stand down your attack. Those creatures are not sentient, Vrel snapped. They are engineered bioweapons, property of the Arcadian Dominion. If they're merely weapons, Ilara interjected, then why are you so afraid of them choosing us? A telling silence followed her question. Then Vrel's voice returned, colder now. You understand nothing, human. What happens when your partners decide your species has outlived its usefulness? The Nexus were designed to bond with the host species, use their resources and protection, then eliminate them when they've served their purpose. It's encoded in their very genetics. Midnight growled, the sound reverberating through the command center. Through their bond, Ilara sensed not anger but indignation. And beneath it, a deep sadness.